Coyote fans, welcome into the Coyote Volleyball Show. It is presented by Scooters Coffee. South Dakota Volleyball coming off of their final non-conference trip of the season. They went to the University of Iowa, playing 3 matches. Coyotes come away with 2 wins out of those 3 matches. Here to talk about it, the head coach of the Coyotes, Leanne Williamson. Coach, it seems like a long time ago since that first match of that tournament because it was on Thursday. You're used to playing either Friday or Saturday to kick off those tournaments, but go back to Thursday. The University of Iowa, they get out to an early lead in that match. Your team shows resiliency, really battles back, gave themselves a chance in set 5.
Yeah, I mean, first, I can't believe we're through our final preseason tournament. I mean, it's insane to think that we're here already, but that was a quick turnaround for us because the week before we played Friday, Saturday, Sunday, had off on Monday. We practiced one day and then got on the road on Wednesday. So that was tough, and I think in a lot of ways our team went through some different things with being a lot of people were sick, a lot of people weren't feeling great, so we had to back off a little bit. I felt like our intent was there. We just had a hard time executing early on versus Iowa, and it's not something that I was expecting or, I think would have predicted going into that. And honestly, we started off really strong. I think it was maybe 6-1 or 6-2 at one point early on with us in the lead, and then we just kind of lost our momentum. But we were resilient. I think in past situations when we went down 0-2, we had a hard time getting ourselves out of it, and I felt like we got better in sets 3 and 4. I think we saw a little bit more of just what Coyote Volleyball is, what we're used to seeing it be. And then again, though, you go into a 5th set, anything can happen. And obviously we were the away team. Everybody usually plays a little bit better at home. So felt like it was a missed opportunity for us. But we've talked about this before. Our program always responds really well. And I was happy with the conversations that we had and the intent that we had as a program moving forward through that tournament.
Always impressive when a team gets down 2 sets to find a way to battle back because you either got to win or the match is over. And you maybe at times get a little desperate with the attempt. How do you try to keep that team desperate to get the points, but not overly desperate in that they're going to make a lot of mistakes?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, one of the things that we continually talk about is just going 1-0. And it's obviously in the idea of matches, but it's also in the idea of points. Each point is the most important point in that moment. And if we can stay in the present, that's usually where I think we have a little bit more success. It's when we start to dwell on maybe past mistakes or maybe where we're at in the match that we start to lose that a little bit. But I felt like in 3 and 4, we got a little bit back to that mentality, of just take care of what we could in the moment, be present. And I was, again, happy with the way that we did that. Just in the 5th set, we just didn't execute, which made it really hard to be able to come back from that.
Team bounces back on Friday and gets a win over Drake. In set number 1, it took overtime to get it done.
I mean, set number 1 was insane. I remember looking at the box score afterwards, and I think we had 36 digs and they had 38 digs, and I would say for a team, most teams are probably averaging maybe between 15 and 17 digs per set. So that puts it into perspective of just how high of a defensive set that was. Back and forth, both teams had their moments where they were really good, but I think it probably took a toll on our offense a little bit, having to take that many swings in order to score points on both ends of it. But I was happy with the way that we continue to fight. Again, that resiliency that we continue to talk about with this team was there. And I think in some ways it was really good for us to be able to pull that one out and see how much of our hard work could pay off down the stretch like that.
I know it's always great to win set number 1. Is it more important to get the win when you're playing the extra time, you're going to, the extra points and all that extra energy in the first set of the match? Is it more important to get that win?
I mean, it probably feels like it, yeah. I mean, anytime that you can go up 1-0, especially when it takes that much to be able to pull out the win is important. I think it created a little bit of confidence for us. It's actually what we talked about is like, hey, we should feel really confident, having to battle, having to go back and forth. I think they had game points, multiple times where we had to find ways to make plays. And, in the end, the last play of the game, we end up with Elena, one of our DSs, in the front row, and we kind of figured what was going to happen. So we made a plan defensively quick from the sideline, but they ended up making an error on that last play. But again, our team was really excited about being able to find a way down the stretch.
Drake wins the 3rd set. You go to the 4th set, and your team able to pull away for a victory. What worked to close out that match?
I mean, I think offensively we got a little bit more efficient. is probably the best word. Just understanding what was going to work, understanding how to manage the game a little bit better was a big part of it too. Their libero is really good. They play a little bit of a different defense than what we're used to, but I think by the fourth set we felt a little bit more confident with what shots were going to work, how we could maybe minimize that a little bit. So again, that's what we want. We want to be better as the match goes on. We want to be playing our best volleyball against that opponent, by the end of the match, and we're definitely doing that.
Third day, St. Louis, and able to get a 4-set win in that one. And that one came down to that long set being the end of it and closing out in a lengthy fourth set.
Yeah, I think my husband actually said thank you so much for doing that on the road so that he didn't have to go through that on our home court. But it was another battle from start to finish. We felt like we were in control in set 1 and 2, partway through each of those sets. But St. Louis doesn't go away. I mean, they kept coming for us and made pushes at the end of both of those sets. So it was actually a focus of ours to try to make sure that we were putting things away when we had the ability to and not letting them go on some runs. So set 3 had a little bit of a mishap with that one. Just didn't play as clean. We made a ton of errors that gave them opportunities. But then the fourth set, I mean, we had to battle, and they continued to come for us. And I just felt like our team, again, handled that better. It didn't stress us out that it was a little bit more back and forth. But, yeah, extra points again. They ended up running out of subs. We were one round away from running out of subs. So we had to adjust some things. But that's the kind of games you want to play in. It's fun volleyball. It's exciting volleyball. And, again, you saw just how resilient our team could be.
What was the takeaway from the weekend? What'd you learn about this group as you get ready for Summit League play?
Well, I don't think it's something that I had to learn new, but again, our depth can help us a ton, and we continue to utilize that when needed. Lauren had a good couple games early on in the weekend and then was struggling a little bit against St. Louis, which was a little bit unlike her. Sam goes in and does some great things for us offensively, passes the ball really well that we're able to be in system. We put Cora in there at the end of 2 of the matches and came away actually in St. Louis when we were down in the fourth set. Put her in, and she got an ace right off the bat. Made a really good dig on the quick attack, which was something that we had been struggling with. And I think with that depth, it's been huge. It equates to wins at times, And I think it's just really important for not only us as coaches and our team to continue to see that, but the fans to continue to see just how deep this team is and how talented they are. You're not going to see the same group every time out on the floor, and that's a good sign for us, and that's a really good thing as we go into conference play, which is difficult. It's hard. October is hard. So if we can rely on, our entire team to be able to find ways to win in different moments, different matchups, different atmospheres, I think it's going to say a lot for this program.
We'll talk all season about the growth of some of these young players. And speaking of young players, Morgan Bode will join us here on the Coyote Volleyball Show.
Yeah, I mean, Morgan, I think people are seeing just how much of an impact she can have, but she's getting more, I would say, confident offensively. And I think just as she learns the blocking scheme, she's a little bit more dynamic at the net. So she's done a lot for us. I continue to see that her having a big role for us as we move forward, but I think Coyote fans are going to enjoy watching her throughout her career.
All right, she'll join us coming up next. Still to come on the Coyote Volleyball Show, Coach Williamson will rejoin us. We'll talk about the opening week of Summit League Volleyball. That's all coming up. This is the Coyote Volleyball Show presented by Scooters Coffee. This segment brought to you by Scooters Coffee. Scooters Coffee, amazing drinks, amazing people, amazingly fast. Welcome back into the Coyote Volleyball Show presented by Scooters Coffee. We just talked to head coach Leanne Williamson. We'll talk to her coming up in just a little bit about the Summit League openers coming up this week for Coyote Volleyball as they've wrapped up non-conference play. And we're joined this week by Morgan Bode, the freshman from Papillion, Nebraska, one of the freshmen from Papillion, Nebraska. Morgan, what has this experience been like for you the last few weeks, getting 11 matches into your college career? What has that adjustment been like?
Honestly, it's been surreal. I mean, this whole thing, like starting in the summer when we first came to now, it's just we've been building up to this moment, and it feels so, like I said, surreal to be playing with all these high competitors and these players on my team that are been performing at the college level for years now. So being able to be in their shoes and playing with them, it's so amazing to be able to actually be here finally after all the years that I've put in, like, to get to where I am now.
What has been the adjustment for you from high school volleyball to this college level, the game speeds up a little
Yes.
bit. It is a little bit different. What's been the biggest adjustment for you?
Definitely, like you mentioned, the speed for blocking. It's been difficult, like knowing that I'm not going to be able to close every single block. But my teammates have been like doing a really good job of like when I'm not able to close the block all the time, I come down and I'm like, oh, that's on me. Like I'll get you guys, and they're like, no, like you're doing great. Like your job as a middle blocker is like impossible, and like you're doing as much as you can, and like that's all we ask of you. So yeah.
Well, if there's a block party, Morgan's going to be there. 37 blocks on this season so far. Take us through an attack from the other team. What is going through your mind as you try to set yourself up for that big block?
So my coaches have really been pushing me to be balanced more, because that's like with the speed, it's hard to be. I kind of like try to guess or something, but like I said, my coaches have been doing a really good job of teaching me to be balanced. And so when the setter makes contact with the ball, that's all I need to focus on in the moment is like, don't guess, don't move, just be stopped for a minute and then read after the setter like is releasing the ball from there.
Was volleyball always the sport you thought maybe you'd pursue?
No, it was not. I actually didn't start club volleyball until about 7th grade. So before then, I was mostly a basketball girl, and those dreams have ended for me, and volleyball has picked up from there.
When did you, so you started going through that, when did you realize that you might have an opportunity to take your career to the next level, to get through college by playing volleyball?
Honestly, it was my freshman year club coach. I moved here, or sorry, not here, to Nebraska the summer before my freshman year. Before that, I was in California. And my freshman year coming in, I made JV, and I was like, okay, this is, not terrible. Like, I wasn't a great player at the time, but I was something to work with. And then my club coach 15's year really, like, strived and pushed, like, me to be my best. And she really took a chance on me. I made the top team at my club, which was honestly not what I was expecting going into it. And she really just saw the potential in me and pushed me to be my best. And that's when I kind of realized, like, oh, I can grow into something, like, bigger than I am right now.
When you go through that process in high school and club volleyball, and then it's time to decide where are we going to continue this journey at? What led you to South Dakota?
Honestly, the first thing for me was distance close to home. I wanted to be not too far. Like, I've lived all over the country. My dad was in the military, so I've moved around, and I knew the Midwest was where I was meant to be, so that obviously helped. And then the coaches honestly were like my final decision. Like, I loved their coaching styles. I knew that I was going to have the most growth here, and then the team on top of that, their dynamic and their love for each other really drove me here.
As you were making that decision and recruiting classes come together, South Dakota was said to have the 5th ranked recruiting class in the country. That's pretty impressive for a school like here. What's that mean to you? Kind of a badge of honor to be a part of that, obviously a highly thought of piece of this recruiting class.
It really just gives perspective on what we can become. I mean, my recruiting class, like, together we have so much power, like you said, and I think it gives insight into what South Dakota can be, and like we're trending upwards and we're continuing to get better like every single day. And I think that just really shines light onto that, like being able to know that we have the potential to be something great.
You came here with a high school teammate,
Yes.
Lauren. Was that always a package deal, or how did that come together? You ended up at the same spot.
Honestly, we were going out recruiting-wise, and we ended up coming here to the same camp. We ended up rooming together, and I just remember, like, after the first day of camp, we were just like, we love it here. Like, this is amazing. Like, this is where we want to be. And she ended up committing, and then I think like 2 weeks later, I got offered, and I was like, this is it. Like, it was a no-brainer for me.
Obviously, you've spent a lot of time on the road so far this season, but you did get that home tournament. What was that experience like? Playing here at home, the new TerraFlex floor, the crowd was going crazy. How do you describe that atmosphere and that experience?
It was just like electric. I mean, everything in there, the vibes, the crowd, like just the match itself was at such a high level. It was so much more than I ever could imagine. Like, all my family was there, like my friends, like from USD came, and it was so impactful for me seeing like this is like as my very first home game. Like, it was so exciting and impactful. Like, it felt like a dream.
This week you open up conference play. Your team is off to Denver and Oral Roberts. You look at this team right now, 11 matches in. What do you like about this group that gives it an opportunity to attain those goals that you guys have for the end of the year?
I think two things. One, our connections on and off the court. I think we've worked really, really hard to build friendships on the court, and it just helps us become better volleyball players because, we know each other, we know each other's tendencies, but also outside of volleyball, like, we know we have each other as friends. And then the second thing would be our competition level. I think every single day in practice, like, we're dry, like, we're all out, 100% effort all the time, and it helps us so much to be prepared for the matches where, like, we are facing high competitors because, we've trained for it like every single day in practice. So,
well, good luck in the conference opener. Good luck this week. Have a great trip to Colorado and to Oklahoma. Thanks so much for the time, and good luck the rest of the year.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You bet. That's Morgan Bode joining us here on the Coyote Volleyball Show. When we come back, we'll talk to Coach Williamson about the Summit League openers. Coyotes open Summit League play Thursday night in Denver, Colorado. This is the Coyote Volleyball Show presented by Scooters Coffee.
This segment brought to you by Scooters Coffee. Scooters Coffee. Amazing drinks, amazing people, amazingly fast.
Welcome back to the Coyote Volleyball Show presented by Scooters Coffee. South Dakota volleyball team is preparing to open up conference play this week. The Coyotes hit the road to play at Denver and Oral Roberts here in the opening week of the Summit League season. Visiting with head volleyball coach Leanne Williamson. Coach, before we get into those matches, we kind of talked the last segment a little bit about this past weekend and what you learned, but where's this team at? Non-conference, you've gone through a lot of non-conference matches, 11 of them, and now you're getting ready for conference play. Where do you feel like this team is at in its progression to build towards the end-of-season goals?
I mean, I'm really happy with where we are as a program right now. I feel like with where we came in, we saw a lot of potential. We saw a lot of things that could go well for us. I think the discipline piece was one of the things that we had to really work on, which was to be expected after playing all summer by themselves without coaches, reminding them of maybe what some of their jobs are in those moments. But we're a better team than what we were when we first came in August. And I'm happy with the progression. I'm happy with where we're getting. I think our volleyball IQ is better. Just in terms of having to score against different defenses, different size of blocks, offensive or defensively, kind of understanding what's in front of us, being patient and really making plays. I mean, defensively, I think will continue to be a big part of our success. And it's something that I think we're better at than when we first came in. But obviously, as you play other people, you're challenged at a different level. So we still feel like there's room for growth. There's still areas that we can get better at. And so I think we're in a perfect spot. We're better than what we were, and we still feel like there's room for improvement.
You opened Summit League play on the road at Denver. It's a 2-game road trip to get the conference schedule started. Denver, always one of the teams that's there competitive at the end of the year. So I don't know who you made friends with in the Summit League. They give you them on the road to start Summit League play, but road trip to Denver, I know always a challenging trip.
Well, I will say I'm happy that it's earlier in the season. Last year we had a snowstorm that we had to deal with. So looking forward to going out there, and I think the Summit League right now is in a really good spot. There's a lot of teams that could possibly be in that mix, from, I think honestly, top to bottom, I think everybody's better, So with that, that's exactly where we would want the league to be. We want us to continue to get better as a whole group. But with that, we can't take any nights off. We have to expect that we're going to get everybody's best game. And especially when we're on the road, that makes it more challenging. The good thing is right now we're used to being on the road. We've had our last 3 or 4 preseason tournaments there with that travel. So I think we're prepared for it. But our team is also very excited to start playing in those conference matchups. But Denver's good. They returned some key players from last year. They can be challenging to defend at times, but I think our team is going to be ready for that challenge.
It's always fun to see, especially early in the season, a great matchup like this. South Dakota and Denver, 2 teams that have historically been very competitive in the Summit League. Obviously, a lot of conference championships and tournament championships between the 2 programs. Good early season test to really see where your team's at.
Yeah, it will absolutely be a great test for us. And I think they are thinking the exact same thing. They've been pushing this match too, trying to get people in the stands because, as they said it's always a great matchup, between the 2 of us. So this is why we play the sport. This is why we want to be here, is to play really, really good volleyball. And I've said that so many times over the course of the last, 10, 15 years of just, this is is fun, and some of the most challenging games, the ones that are the tight ones back and forth, maybe you're talking about being tied 2-2 going into the fifth, or 13-13 at the end of the fifth. Like, that's why we play this game. So to start out playing Denver right away, we know it's going to be a challenge. We know it's going to be difficult, but that's what we want.
I know you've spent a lot of the season on the road so far, but this trip will be different because you play a match, you pack your bags, you go to a new location and play a match there. How do you try to prepare some of these young players for this type of travel, because it is very different than your tournaments where you're at the location for the whole weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think talking about it is important, just understanding maybe even some of our upperclassmen sharing information of how it's worked for them best in the past. But at the same time, there's some travel involved, but we're also not playing 3 matches in 3 days. So I think in some ways it's going to be a nice change of pace of being able to have that day in between to recover, to watch film, to be able to break things down a little bit more, either on ourselves or our upcoming opponent. And not that we didn't do that over the weekend or over these last 4 weeks, but it feels a little bit more rushed because it is. So I think in some ways physically we could actually be in a better spot because we are playing the 2 matches in a weekend and having that day in between. So, you do your best, but I think in some ways they've got to learn as they go too of what works for them individually.
At the end of the day, what do you need to see this week out of this group to have success?
I mean, we've got a list of things that we want to see as coaches, as we all do. But I think some of it is just understanding, what our job is in certain moments, and making sure that we don't have missed assignments, that we're not giving people free points because of something we're doing on our end. We want to make them earn things. And when we're good, we are really good. And I don't think many people in the league are going to be able to stop us. But when we start to struggle, there's times that, it takes us a little bit. So I think we had moments this weekend that we saw that we could make that change, we could get better through it, and then we've had matches where that does become a thing. So, but again, all of those moments, that's why we are where we are. That's why we play the preseason, is to learn all of those things and understand what works and doesn't work. I think even for us as coaches, we know how to help our players better now because we've gotten to know them more individually on that personal level, be able to ask like, hey, did that help? Did that not help? So I think all of those struggles, all the kind of the obstacles in our way have led us to exactly where we are right now.
Good luck this week. Have a great trip.
Thank you.
All right, that's Leanne Williamson, the head coach of the South Dakota volleyball team. Coyotes will open up conference play Thursday night at Denver and then play at Oral Roberts in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Saturday afternoon. That's going to do it for us this week. We'll talk about the conference opener next week when the Coyote Volleyball Show returns. This has been the Coyote Volleyball Show presented by Scooters Coffee.
The Coyote Volleyball Show is brought to you by Scooters Coffee. Scooters Coffee. Amazing drinks, amazing people, amazingly fast.